Gavin Thorpe, and I'm here as Gavin Thorpe and to represent Talk Club as well for our very exciting secret hush hush meeting in London to meet Distiller Records to discuss possibly releasing a charity single next May.
My name's John Thompson, I'm the head of the Distiller Music Group, and we're going to get involved in this really exciting project for Talk Club and a charity single. So we just had a discussion today, the first initial meeting with the team, and everybody's really excited.
I'm buzzing, yeah, I'm just so excited, and to work with Distiller and John as well, and the enthusiasm already from that meeting, and hearing John, how excited he is, and to be involved in all the ideas, and a bit like me, full of hundreds of ideas, got to put them to practice.
Yeah, definitely.
But just to know that they're as excited as I am about this, about Talk Club and the song itself. I'm a 10, absolutely,
Brilliant.
Definitely a 10. We are at Distiller Studios near Bath, and we are recording Soul to Save, which is a song I wrote for Talk Club, about Talk Club, about myself, my experience of Talk Club, and that was sort of main inspiration, and yeah, that's what we're here to do, to record a charity single for Talk Club.
Sometimes I just wanna scream and shout and let it all come falling out. And I know that nothing lasts forever, and every time we talk I feel lighter.
Talk Club is a talking and listening movement for men. Founded in March 2019 at the premiere of my film, Steve, which is a film sparked by the suicide of my childhood best friend. And that's how we all met, really. So inside the film, I look at why men are taking their own lives, and this epidemic of suicide that is now the biggest killer of men under 50, a man every 90 minutes. And Gav did all the music for the film. And it's quite funny the way that Gav and I met. Our kids go to the same school, so I actually met Gav in the playground. And he sort of said to me, "Oh, I saw your thing for the film, you can use my music if you like." And for me, it really, really lifted the film to a new level. So when we were going to create Talk Club, trying to work out what it was going to look like, Gav told me that he was trained to be a therapist at that time, and I was sort of like, well, he's this piece of the puzzle that we didn't have at that time, and so he was one of the founders, and it was his idea to create it on Facebook and sort of push it out that way. So the first time I heard Soul to Save, he sent me a little MP3. And I on my phone, so I'm listening to it, and it's tinny quality, and it was obviously just recorded on his phone, but it was amazing, because I remember even just feeling like the hairs stand up on my arm. And he sort of said to me, "What do you think about releasing this as a Talk Club single, to create awareness, to get more people to be aware of Talk Club, and maybe even raise a bit of money?" And it was amazing. It was amazing. We sort of the first time we did it live, we were down at Friendly Records, and just to sort of feel the love in the room. There was probably about 50 people in this room, and it was beautiful. It was sort of like just support for someone who's clearly very talented, and has got a great song, and hopefully can create great things for Talk Club.
We all got a soul to save. One more time. We all got a soul to save. Woo!
we've been on quite an incredible, I would say, 20-year music journey, going way back to when all the sort of interest from record labels around the country started, and all the gigging locally and going to London and stuff like that. So it's been a monumental roller coaster, and obviously to coming to this point now where, you know, obviously the Talk Club has given him the vehicle to, you know, I suppose not only boost the awareness of Talk Club as a cause, but also, you know, it's allowed Gav to continue his passion, which is, you know, as we know, is music. My dad bought a rehearsal studio in Bedminster, and then we had various bands in there, and one band was signed to Sony, and the A&R come down, and Gav obviously got friendly with her. You know, he passed the music on, and then it sort of somehow managed to find its way around some publishing houses in London, and then with that, you know, we started pushing it around record labels.
So we were getting all these meetings in London, going out for all these dinners, and it was great. And then Atlantic, as soon as I heard Atlantic Records were interested, that was it for me. I've always wanted to sign for Atlantic. I think growing up as a kid, my dad had lots of soul records, and I always saw that Atlantic emblem on the label. It's so iconic, and I love it. I met the A&R guy, and he said, look, the big boss, Craig Coleman, is over from New York next week. Do you want to come and play for him? I was like, yeah, sure. So I went up to London, played, did about 10, 11 songs, went downstairs after, and he just said, right, I want to fly to New York next week, I want to sign you. I was just like, what? It was like I'd just been given a lottery ticket. It was just incredible.
Just being two kids, two guys who grew up in Whitton Under Edge, sleepy little village. Next minute we're in New York, signing a record deal with one of the biggest labels in the world. Life didn't really get much better than this. You know, you got a guy, you know, head of Atlantic telling you, you know, Armour Ertegun, who's sort of saying Gav was a great singer, etc. You think life is set. You know, we thought, right, he's going to be a superstar. You know, we went to Hollywood, recorded an album in LA, spent months there. I mean, the whole process was just insane.
Fairytale really at the beginning had rock star treatment. It was incredible, and then we had the song in a film, and then after that the label just went quiet. It all went a bit strange. My American manager was like, the label are doing nothing, not just you but anybody. It was a turbulent time, and for about a year I literally was just waiting for a phone call to say the album's coming out. I got told 3 occasions the album's on the release schedule. It's coming out. It's coming out in the summer. 3 times I told that, and 3 times, oh no, they've taken it off.
Oh, my heart is like a speeding train. Oh, my love, I can feel your pain. All night long, yeah, I pray for you, because I miss you, and I'm out of place, and I'm out of place.
That probably it was probably the first sign of it taking a bit of mental strain on Gav, in the fact that there was a lot of kicking around. You know, we basically were Gav was a full-time musician, I was sort of his manager, and we were, you know, luckily we had the studio, so Gav was rehearsing all the time, and we, you know, but it was a bit, you know, a little bit of a strange world we lived in, you know, sort of didn't really have much structure to our life.
And I kept a diary at that time, and I read it recently, and I was literally just drunk the whole time. I mean, I was 23, 24, I was just, but I had no direction, I had nothing, I had no reason to get up, I was just partying. And it was great for a while, but of course all my friends have got jobs, and so there's no one to party with, so I'm on my own getting drunk in a pub. So I would say it was quite dark days. The publishing company which were BMG when I signed and then got turned to Universal. They were incredible. They really stuck by me throughout the whole process, really stuck by and believed in me. They came up with the idea that we're going to sue Atlantic for restraint of trade because they're stopping you from trading. They're not doing anything with your album. They're either going to pay me my next advance or let me go. And so I went through that legal battle, which went on for a while. Of course, Atlantic were reluctant to let me go. In the end, they did. But they put a 2-year re-record restriction on me, which means I couldn't record for 2 years or sign to anyone else. And at that point, I just took it because I was so desperate to get out. I just went, yeah, fine. After leaving Atlantic, Universal said, look, why don't you go and make the record you want to make if you're not happy with the label, and it was a major label, go and make a record that you want. Rather than just, I'd written a load of songs in that time, I'd been waiting, obviously. I had all this new material, and the label and the publisher were like, why don't you just go make a record? And in that time, I'd become friends with Rupert, who's producing this track, and I'd met him, and we'd all talked about maybe doing a record together one day, and I really liked what he was doing. And so when I started planning the album pictures, I went straight to Rupert and said, how about we make a record together? I've got a budget of 15 grand, which sounds like a lot of money, but it isn't when you've got to make a whole record for 15 grand, considering that the Atlantic record probably cost $500,000. And then the first single came out in 2008. So I signed my record deal 2001. 7 years later, I finally released something. So it was 7 years of what do we want to call it? Learning or misery, but it was tough. So finally got it out. Then the album came out, and it was doing okay, getting bits, and I was about to go to the States. There's a label in the States that were really interested in putting it out in America and interested in licensing it and signing it, and that was booked for November 2008 to go off to the States and do a little mini tour in California. And then the October before that, my dad died, and that was it really. I think that was, I realised now that was sort of the moment that just, it stopped my career and put the wind under me really.
I think the death of Gav's father was a turning point probably in his career, because he, rather than being an artist and being completely self-centered, which you have to be as an artist, I think, to some extent, you've got to be focused in on your art to create anything good. It's very hard to do it as a sort of, maybe as a sort of spare 5 minutes I've got, I'll put some time in. You've got to be completely focused on that. And it flipped it to the point where, his dad had been so supportive and been the linchpin for all his writing, and, Gav, you've got to go and do this, you've got to do that. And I think it flipped to being about his family and other people. And it impacted on his, just his choices more than his potential output. I mean, he could still write monster songs, but he chose not to. He chose to focus on his family and the people around him that were affected by his dad's loss and those sort of things. So it was a major effect.
I mean, obviously, Dad's passing away was incredibly sudden. I mean, it was sudden. I mean, it was one day, gone the next. So I think you can't ever prepare for something like that. I mean, Dad was, he was our best mate. I mean, absolutely, unequivocally, wherever he went, he was there. Or, if we went to gigs with our friends or friends' bands, Dad would be there supporting. So it was a monumental hole ripped into our lives without a shadow of a doubt.
It was our dream, it was something. The music, getting the record deal was our dream because it was something he always wanted to do. He was a bass player in a band, and he loved music and was in different bands. And at a very young age, he got my mum pregnant and had to go and get that job as an accountant and get the money on the table. So he almost had to give up on his dreams. And I remember him saying that to me, that I had to give up my dreams, and it was almost like I was doing this for both of us. And that's why he was cool. I mean, when I went to him when I was 17 and said I'm going to drop out of college because I want to do music full time, I want to be a rock star, he was like, do it. It's do that. I feel emotional just saying that.
Gavin's dad, Tony, was a massive influence on Gav as a musician, singer, songwriter. He was a rock behind his career. You know, as I say, when I met Gav when he was 18, Tony was right there beside him the whole time. In fact, I remember the day I met Gavin and I turned up and jammed with his band before I joined them. Tony, bless him, took me outside to sit in his car with him and listen to a tape of one of Gav's demos. And I sat there and listened to it, and I turned to Tony. I said, "Oh, he's got a great voice." Tony just beamed with pride. He was so sort of proud of Gavin, and I think of Dan as well, Gav's brother. At every stage, Tony was there, sort of driving it, advising. I would say driving. He'd literally drive him to gigs. He'd drive us to London in a van to play a show. You know, he was there every step of the way. And then Gav got signed, obviously, to Atlantic Records, and we all went off to LA. Needless to say, Tony was there. He was a rock for Gavin and for Dan, and actually for all of us in the band. He was like our surrogate dad, so supportive. And then, obviously, Tony's death came out of the blue, completely unexpected and absolutely devastating.
Well, when something like that happens, it changes your outlook on life, that kind of thing. And I think it appeared that the shift had sort of slightly changed on the focus of his career, like why he was doing it. You know what I mean? It was more not just, well, I'm just going to be, an artist, that kind of thing. It was more like I can do something. It certainly seemed that way, as an outsider anyway. The purpose of it definitely, I think, has become much more that important.
I think the perspective that you approach things, the lens that you look at things changes. In the context that we're here doing this, that comes out in the music. But that can also come out in a conversation with a friend. If you were catching up with them and you hadn't seen them for ages and you were late at night and you got past that initial "how are you doing?" The barriers had come down and you were just waxing lyrical. What you talk about, what you empathise with and what you relate to kind of changes. So I've seen that in him.
Gav's always been a gregarious, friendly guy. He's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of... he's not a taker. Even as an artist, he was very, aware of and very giving with all his, people around him, but probably more so now than ever before. I think his dad's loss had an effect on that and changed his outlook, as I think you'd expect.
One day maybe we could look back and see it wasn't all so bad.
Just arrived at the studio, ready to begin. Start rehearsal for the single. I'm really excited. Can't wait for everyone to get here. Woohoo! It's day one of the session. So today we're doing the full band today. So we're doing guitar, bass, drums today, capturing that with the band in the live room.
Some days I just wanna start again. Press rewind and go back to yesterday. I know I'm a million miles away from where I am and where I need to stay.
Just finished day one in the studio. Feeling feeling crap because of my cold, but feeling really positive and happy. We've just been sorting out the arrangement of the track with the band today, and it sounds really good. Really pleased with the arrangement, and I'm really excited. I couldn't sleep last night, so I'm so excited about today. But I can't wait for tomorrow night to properly track the song and bring it to life, and exciting stuff.
Here we go. 4, 5, 6.
string quartet have just left, and I'm just blown away. I'm just absolutely blown away how amazing this sounds, and I know, just incredible. It's just this whole experience to do this again. It's just been amazing, and I'm blown away. I'm speechless. I think it's the best recording I've ever made. It's probably one of the best songs I've ever written. Everyone who's played on it has just put their heart and soul into the track, and Rupert Christie, who's just produced it, written the strings, just done everything. Everyone's just been top of their game, and I'm just a couple of times there I could have burst into tears when the strings were playing. I just really wish Pops could have heard it. I just really wished he was there to hear the track, and just almost my finest hour. Jack, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Well done, man. Come in. Cheers. Yeah, man. Come in. How you doing? You're there. Good to see you. Come in. Hello. You know, 10 men sing that line, Soul to Saved, and to think that, you know, I wrote it about men and Talk Club, and to hear men sing that line back and together in unison, and it was so powerful. And then when we had the playback at the end, it lifted me off the ground. It was just incredible. It just, I'm really emotional. I feel quite, it's incredible.
Right, I'm just trying to control my inner child because I'm very excited. We are at Abbey Road Studios today, mastering the single for Talk Club, Soul to Save. I am ridiculously excited. It's amazing to be. I've come back here. I came here 12 years ago. A little bit emotional as well, because I came here 12 years ago with my dad, and it was a beautiful day, probably one of the best days I've had with my dad. It's just the two of us coming in. I was recording, and it was amazing. So I feel emotional that side, but very excited to be here in this iconic place. It's amazing.
I hadn't listened to it for ages since we were in the studio, and then we got the mix back, and it sounds incredible. All of the energy that was in that session and the momentum from that session is still there, hasn't been lost. I didn't get bored of it. I can't stop playing it. It's brilliant.
I'm overwhelmed, really. I just can't believe I'm stood here doing this, really, to be honest. I can't believe it. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to make music again in that professional sense, and to be at a place like Abbey Road to master it is another dream come true for me. It's just incredible. I'm just feel very humble at the moment.
We've all got a soul to save. We've all got a soul to save. So don't hesitate to do what it
Wow, I've just watched the first edit of the Soul to Save Talk Club charity single video, and man, I've got tears in my eyes. Just powerful, just amazing to see the studio footage again and see the men, the choir singing the song and the strings, and just I'm blown away.
We've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a soul to save. We've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a soul to save. We've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a, we've all got a soul to save. break free from those chains.
So the idea with Soul to Save was it was actually recorded pre-Christmas, and to release it around Mental Health Awareness Week in May. But as we know, the country, the world went into meltdown with this global pandemic, and when we released it in May, we were actually still in lockdown. And it was really hard. It was really hard for Gav, because normally what would happen, he would go out and tour it, if you like, play gigs and sort of get people up and moving and go into radio studios and sort of talk to DJs. So I think that was really hard for him. But what we found was that awareness. I mean, we've gone up 40% since March, and we've helped thousands of men now and thousands of families now through Talk Club and through the awareness of this song. The videos alone have got like over 160,000 views, and that's just come out of a great idea, a great song, and great people making all that happen.
Run away, let's run away. You and me, just you and me. This could be the start. Just follow your heart. Run away, let's run away. You and me, just you and me. Leave it all behind. We live our life.
I was just thinking the other day, I noticed on my calendar, it was this time last year that we went to London to see the label. It was November, actually. We went to London to visit the label to discuss the idea of doing a charity single. So that's amazing. A year later, it feels like we've done quite a lot in that time, and Talk Club's moved on quite a lot in that time. But I just remember, that first conversation. I remember going to the pub after that conversation and just bursting into tears, with just so excited. I just couldn't believe I was doing music again. It's something that I'd almost, in the back of my head, was like, I don't do this anymore. It's not something I do. Dreams of record deals and releasing EPs was sort of over for me in my head. So for someone to turn around and say, yeah, actually, we really like your music, we want to release it, and the fact we're going to and the great thing about it is it's going to do good with Talk Club. It's for me it was just a win-win scenario. So yeah, I'm really proud that I can still do it. I can still sing and perform at a high level. I've really enjoyed doing all the interviews and talking about the music, but more importantly talking about Talk Club and the reaction that we're getting to Talk Club, and actually the awareness. I was quite surprised whilst doing interviews how many people didn't know about the stats of suicide and the impact it's having on our society. I was quite taken back by that. Every single DJ was like, oh wow, I've just read about the stats and Talk Club and this is unbelievable. And I was quite shocked that people aren't really aware of that, because it is public sort of knowledge. So it was really good to raise that awareness and make this whole thing from the Steve documentary about why we're doing this, and to raise more awareness. And the song has done that by having the chance to get to the media and talk about what's really going on.
I think the song has increased awareness, and it's a component in awareness for Talk Club. I think it demonstrates that there's different outlets that we can all pursue in ways to promote what Talk Club does, whether that's music, whether it's arts, whether it's marketing. So it's one of many pieces that is getting the message out there positively. It was an unusual experience. It was something I never would have done if it had not been suggested by Talk Club. I'll probably never knock another recording artist again, because that's hard work. Being in the studio for a few hours, it's like very hot, very intense, redoing takes. But it was just good to be part of something that was obviously a movement and being promoted by modern music. Talk Club has given me an outlet, and it's given me an outlet with some people who are like-minded. It's a common thread. Although I was initially going somewhere to talk anonymously with a bunch of guys I'd never met before, some of those relationships are cultivated because they're like-minded. So it's that outlet with like-minded people who understand, and a lot of guys who understand that blokes need that place to talk, that safe place.
So being in the choir was amazing. I've never been in a choir before, even though I've been singing for 25 years. It was a fantastic experience, and the studio wasn't anything like I expected at all. It's one of the most incredible studios I've ever been in my entire life. The whole process was fantastic. The encouragement was fantastic. Singing with people was fantastic. I would 100% recommend Talk Club to everyone. Even in my short time of captaining, the demographic has been incredible. We've had, people there who are in their 60s, people who are students, and, just men coming together and talking with the same mutual respect, but also the listening is probably more beneficial than the talking. I don't think there's any more I can say. If you really are struggling with life, just talk about it.
From now on, all I wanna do is spend my time with you.
I think my dad would be very proud of what I'm doing. I think he'd be proud of the fact that I am also a trained therapist now. I helped set up Talk Club with 1,400 men are using it on a daily basis, and all the groups around the country, 50 odd groups, and around the world actually. So I think he'd be proud of. I think he'd be bursting with just the Talk Club stuff. I think it'd be bursting again with the EP, the fact that I'm doing this for charity as well, and then it'd be exploding again for the fact that I'm now a trained therapist. I've got another new chosen career. But actually, what is important is that I'm proud of me, is that I'm proud of what I've done and achieved.
Make you smile. From now on, all I wanna do is spend my time with you. You got to live a little, you got to love a little, because life is way too short. From now on, all I wanna do is take good care of you. From now on, you are the reason why I feel alive. Hey, now, you know I'd do anything to make you smile. From now on, all I wanna do is spend my time with you. From now on. Some days I just wanna start again. Press rewind and go back to yesterday. And I know I'm a million miles away from where I am and where I need to stay. We all got a soul to save. We all got a soul to save. So don't hesitate, do what it takes. got a soul to save. Everybody, we all got a soul to save. We all got a soul to save. Just the fellas. We all got a soul to save. We all got a soul to save. All the ladies. Keep going. To save, we all got a soul to save. 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 We all got a soul. We all got. We all got. We all got a soul. We all got. We all got. We all got. We all got a soul to save. One more time. We all got a soul